Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into a story that's a little bit funny, a little bit painful, and packed with a huge life lesson. It's an old tale, but its message is more relevant today than ever before. It's called The Dog and the Oyster, and trust me, you're going to want to hear this. So, picture this. There was a dog, a really charming and clever dog, but he had one major weakness. He was absolutely obsessed with eggs. He'd sneak into the henhouse every chance he got. At first, he'd just have one or two, cracking them open like a pro. But soon, his love for eggs turned into a serious craving. He got so greedy that he stopped bothering to crack them. He just started gulping them down whole. One gulp and poof, the egg was gone. He thought he was the smartest dog in the world, getting his favorite treat with zero effort. This little habit of his made him feel invincible. He'd strut around the farm, feeling full and satisfied, thinking he'd found the ultimate life hack. Why waste time with the messy part when you can just swallow your problems, or in this case, your breakfast whole? He became known for his egg-swallowing trick. Other farm animals would watch in amazement, and the dog's ego grew bigger with every egg he swallowed. He started to believe that anything small, round, and smooth was a delicious egg just waiting for him. This assumption, as you might guess, was about to get him into some serious trouble. One beautiful, sunny afternoon, feeling particularly adventurous after his morning egg feast, the dog decided to explore a bit further than usual. He wandered away from the familiar sights of the farm and found himself down by the vast, shimmering seashore. The salty air, the sound of the waves, the squawking seagulls, it was all new and exciting for him. He trotted along the sand, his tail wagging, sniffing at all the new and interesting smells. He was on top of the world, feeling like a true explorer discovering a new land. As he was trotting along the wet sand where the waves gently lapped the shore, his sharp eyes spotted something. There, half buried in the sand, was a small, round, smooth object. It was glistening in the sun, looking incredibly tempting. The dog's brain, now hardwired by his recent habits, screamed just one word. EGG. It looked just like the eggs he loved so much. It was the perfect size, the perfect shape. He thought, wow, what luck. A seaside egg. This must be some kind of special, exotic treat. Without a single moment of hesitation, without even a quick sniff to check what it was, the dog pounced. In a flash, he gulped it down. One big, satisfying swallow. He felt it slide down his throat and land in his stomach. For a split second, he felt that familiar sense of victory. Another one down. He probably thought to himself. He was so proud of his quick and decisive action. He'd seen what he wanted and he'd taken it. What could possibly go wrong? But then, something started to feel wrong. Very wrong. That satisfying feeling quickly vanished and was replaced by a dull ache deep in his belly. The ache grew sharper, turning into a stabbing, cramping pain. It wasn't the pleasant, full feeling of a delicious egg. This was something hard, heavy, and completely indigestible. The object in his stomach felt like a rock. The dog whimpered and lay down on the sand, curling into a ball as waves of pain washed over him. The sun didn't feel so warm anymore, and the sound of the waves was no longer soothing. Of course, what he had swallowed wasn't an egg at all. It was an oyster, complete with its hard, rugged shell. His stomach churned and twisted, trying desperately to break down something it simply couldn't. The dog let out a low, miserable groan. He was in agony. All his pride, all his cleverness, it all melted away, replaced by pure regret and a very, very sore tummy. Lying there on the beach, groaning in pain, the dog finally had a moment of clarity. It was a painful epiphany, to say the least. Through his groans, he muttered to himself, I guess I've learned my lesson, a very hard lesson. Not everything that's round is an egg. In that moment of suffering, he realized the massive flaw in his thinking. He had been acting purely on impulse, driven by his greed and a single, simplistic rule he'd made up for himself. He had been so quick to act, so confident in his assumption, that he never stopped to think, to observe, or to question. He just saw something that looked familiar and jumped right in. And this brings us to the core message of the story, summed up in a classic proverb: act in haste and repent at leisure. And in the dog's case, you can add, and often in pain. This fable is a powerful metaphor for our own lives, isn't it? How many times have we jumped to conclusions or made snap decisions based on incomplete information? We see something that looks like an opportunity, a round, smooth egg, and we dive in headfirst without doing our due diligence. Maybe it's a job offer that sounds too good to be true, a get-rich-quick scheme that promises easy money, or even just a piece of juicy gossip we immediately believe and spread without checking the facts. Like the dog, we operate on assumptions. We see a pattern, and we expect it to repeat itself every single time. This worked before, so it must work again. Or, this person looks a certain way, so they must be a certain type of person. These mental shortcuts, or heuristics, can be useful sometimes, but they can also lead us straight into swallowing an oyster. We rush into a new relationship because the person reminds us of someone we liked before. We invest in a trendy stock because everyone else is doing it and it looks like a sure thing. We click buy now on an impulse purchase without reading the reviews or the return policy. In each of these cases, we're acting in haste. We're driven by excitement, greed, fear of missing out, or just plain laziness. We skip the crucial step of pausing to think. We don't stop to ask, wait a minute, is this really what I think it is? What are the potential downsides? What if this isn't an egg? And what happens next? We end up repenting at leisure. We're stuck in a job we hate, we lose our hard-earned money, we damage a friendship with misinformation, or we're left with a painful stomach ache of regret. The leisure part is almost ironic, because there's nothing leisurely about dealing with the consequences of a bad decision. It's a long, often painful process of untangling the mess we've made, all because we couldn't spare a few moments to think before we acted. The story teaches us the value of critical thinking and patience. It's a reminder to look before you leap, to sniff before you swallow. Before making any significant decision, take a step back. Gather more information. Consider the opposite point of view. Ask yourself, what if I'm wrong? What's the worst-case scenario here? It's not about being cynical or pessimistic. It's about being prudent and wise. It's about protecting yourself from swallowing oysters. Think about it in the digital age. We are constantly bombarded with round things, headlines, social media posts, advertisements, all designed to look appealing and demand an instant reaction. They are the modern-day eggs scattered on our digital seashore. The urge to react instantly, to click, to share, to buy, is incredibly strong. But if we act in haste, we might be swallowing misinformation, falling for a scam, or getting pulled into pointless online arguments. The oyster shell is the painful truth we discover later. So the next time you feel that rush of excitement, that urge to jump in without thinking, remember our poor dog on the beach, remember his groan of regret. Take a breath, pause, examine the situation from all angles. Is it really a delicious egg, or could it be a hard, painful oyster in disguise? That moment of hesitation, that small act of patience, could save you a whole lot of trouble and regret down the line. It's one of the most valuable habits you can ever cultivate. What do you guys think? Have you ever swallowed an oyster in your life? I know I have. Share your stories in the comments below. Let's learn from each other. Thanks so much for watching today. If you enjoyed this story and its lesson, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content that makes you think. See you in the next video.